My legs were shaking like a leaf in the wind as I stood by the kitchen door that night. It was 2 o'clock in the morning, and the whole house was dark and quiet. My wife Chidera was standing over the fire, but she was not cooking with water and salt alone. She called a name. She called the name of my boss, Mr. Johnson. As soon as the name left her mouth, something fell from the empty air inside the boiling pot. It sounded like heavy meat hitting hot oil. Bam! The smell hit my nose. It was thick and heavy. It was not goat meat. It was something else, something dark. I wanted to scream, but my voice died in my throat. I just stood there watching my wife cook something that came from the spirit world. But before I tell you what happened next, let me take you back to how the evening started. It was a very good evening. My house in Lagos was full of people. Big men from my office were sitting on my sofas and laughing loud. They were licking their fingers and sweating because of the hot pepper soup. The smell of the soup was filling the whole parlor. It was the kind of smell that makes a man hungry even if he just finished eating rice. It smelled like fresh herbs and strong spices. My boss, Mr. Johnson, was there. He's a hard man to please, but today he was smiling like a small boy. He held the bowl with 2 hands and drank the soup noisily. "Obinna, this your wife is a magician," Mr. Johnson shouted with a piece of soft meat in his mouth. "I have never eaten goat meat that melts on the tongue like ice cream like this." I laughed, and my chest was puffed up like a pigeon. I felt like a king. Every man wants his wife to be the best cook. I looked at my friend Emeka. He was scraping the bottom of his plate with a spoon. He looked at me and said, "Obinna, you must show us the market where she buys this meat. This is not normal goat. This one is special." I told him it is her secret recipe. I was feeling very proud. I thought about the promotion I was looking for at work. I knew that after this good meal, Mr. Johnson would definitely give me the position of branch manager. I was already calculating the new salary in my head. But when I looked at Chidera, she was not smiling. She was standing by the door leading to the kitchen. Her face was dry. She looked like someone who hadn't slept for 3 days. Her eyes were deep inside her head, and her skin looked gray. She was wearing a fine wrapper, but I could see that she had grown thin. Too thin. Her collarbone was showing. I walked up to her because I wanted to hug her. "Baby, you have done it again," I whispered to her ear. "Everyone is happy. You have made me a big man tonight." She moved her body away from me small, just a little bit. It was strange because she usually liked it when I praised her. "Obinna, I'm tired," she said with a low voice that sounded rough. "I want to go and rest." I told her not to worry. I told her to let the house girl wash the plates so she could sleep. "No," she answered quickly. Her voice was sharp and fear was inside it. "Nobody must enter my kitchen tonight. I will wash the big pot myself. Do not let anybody enter there." I was surprised, but I did not argue. I thought maybe she was just stressed. The party finished late at night. My friends tapped my back and told me I was a lucky man. I drank a little too much wine, and my head was spinning in a sweet way. I climbed the stairs to our room, and the AC was blowing cool air. I waited for Chidera to come up, but she stayed downstairs. She said she was cleaning. I did not worry. I just jumped on the bed and closed my eyes. I was dreaming of my new office and my new car. I slept off quickly. I did not know that downstairs in the dark kitchen, my wife was paying the price for my happiness. I did not know that the soup was not just soup. It was a transaction, and the receipt was coming very soon. My eyes opened wide in the middle of the night, and sleep vanished completely. The room was very hot, and sweat was soaking my pajamas. The air conditioner had stopped working, and the fan was not moving at all. It was silent everywhere, but I could hear the sound of the clock ticking on the wall. Tick-tock, tick-tock. I checked the time, and it was 13 minutes past 2 in the morning. My throat was dry like dry sand. I needed cold water very urgently, or I would faint. I turned to the other side of the bed to wake Chidera so she could maybe help me check the generator, but the bed was empty. I touched the bed sheet, and it was cold. She had not come to bed at all since we finished the party. I sat up on the bed and rubbed my face. Why was my wife still downstairs by this time of the night? Maybe she slept off on the sofa while watching television. I stood up and my legs felt heavy. The room was dark, but I knew my way around. I walked to the door and opened it. The heat in the passage was terrible. It felt like I was inside an oven. I started walking down the stairs one by one. The house was too quiet. It was the kind of silence that makes you feel like someone is watching you from the corner. As I was going down the stairs, the temperature began to change. The heat remained upstairs, but downstairs was becoming cold. It was not normal cold, like air conditioner cold. It was the kind of cold that enters your bone and makes your teeth shake. I held the railing of the stairs tight. When I reached the parlor downstairs, I saw that everywhere was pitch black. The television was off. Chidera was not on the sofa. Then I heard a sound coming from the kitchen side. It was a low sound. It sounded like someone was murmuring prayers, but it was aggressive. Mbarakaka. The voice was deep and rough. It did not sound like my sweet wife's voice at all. I walked slowly towards the kitchen on my toes so I would not make any noise. The kitchen door was closed, but I could see a faint blue light coming from under the door. I put my ear against the wood of the door. The chanting became louder. It was a language I did not understand. It sounded like Igbo, but the words were twisted and turned upside down. It sounded ancient and dangerous. My heart started beating boom, boom, boom in my chest. I wanted to turn back and run upstairs and cover my head with a blanket, but something pulled me to open the door. I pushed the door open just a small crack. What I saw made my blood turn into water. The kitchen was dark, except for the blue fire burning under the big iron pot. The pot was boiling seriously, but there was no steam coming out of it. Chidera was standing there. She was wearing her nightgown, but she looked different. Her hair was rough and standing up. She was not cutting onions. She was not cutting pepper. Her hands were empty. She was holding her two hands over the boiling pot like she was blessing it. Then she opened her mouth wide and shouted a name, Emeka. That was the name of my colleague who was licking his plate during dinner. As soon as she called the name, the air in the kitchen started to swirl like a small whirlwind. A thick gray smoke rose from the floor tiles. The smoke gathered together in the middle of the air between her hands. I watched with my mouth open as the smoke turned red. It became solid. It turned into a lump of fresh red meat. It was raw flesh dripping with blood. It just appeared from nowhere. The meat fell from the air and landed inside the hot pot with a heavy splash. The water hissed. The sweet smell of the pepper soup filled the kitchen immediately. It was the same smell I loved before, but now it made my stomach turn. Chidera picked up a big wooden spoon and started stirring the pot. She was stirring it with force. She was cooking the spirit of my friend. She was using his name as ingredient. I realized then that every time I ate her food, I was eating the life of another human being. The fear that caught me was too much. I gasped and my hand hit the door. The door made a loud noise. Creak. Chidera stopped stirring instantly. Her neck snapped toward the door. She looked straight at me. Her eyes were not normal. The black part was gone. Her eyes were completely white. I stood frozen by the door, and my body refused to move.
The white eyes of my wife pierced my soul. I thought she was going to fly towards me and eat me raw like the meat in the pot. I tried to shout Jesus, but my tongue was heavy like stone. Then suddenly she blinked. Her eyelids closed, and when they opened again, her eyes were brown and normal. The terrible cold in the room disappeared instantly. The kitchen became warm again, just like a normal kitchen. The blue fire under the pot turned back to normal orange fire. It was like waking up from a bad dream, but I knew I was awake. Chidera leaned against the kitchen counter and let out a long breath. She looked weak. She looked like a cloth that someone had squeezed all the water out of. I pointed my shaking finger at her. "Chidera, what is this?" I asked with a trembling voice. "Are you a witch? Is this what you are feeding me? Have I been eating human beings?" I wanted to vomit. The thought of the delicious meat I ate earlier made my stomach turn upside down. I started backing away towards the door because I was scared she would cast a spell on me. She did not scream. She did not try to deny it. She just looked at me with sad eyes. "Obinna, stop shouting," she said softly. "I'm not a witch. I'm a wife who wants her husband to be the head. I'm doing this for you." I told her God forbid. I told her I don't want this kind of help. I asked her where she got the meat from. I asked her why she called him Mecca's name. She walked slowly to the pot and stirred it one more time. "My grandmother taught me this," she said. "She told me that the world is a hard place. She told me that for one man to rise, another man must fall. The meat, you see, is not flesh from their body. It is their look. It is their glory. It is the thing that makes them shine." I looked at the pot with horror. "So you are stealing their destiny?" I asked her. She nodded her head slowly. "When they eat the food, they leave a piece of their star behind for you," she explained. "Why do you think you got that promotion over Emeka? Emeka's smarter than you, Obinna. He works harder than you. But you got the post because I cooked his luck and you ate it. Why do you think your business is moving while others are crying? It is this pot." I felt cold sweat running down my back. "So my success is a lie?" I asked her. I felt shame and anger mixing together. I thought I was a smart man. I thought I was a big boy because of my hard work, but now I hear that I'm just a thief eating other people's blessings. Chidera coughed and held her chest. She looked very old in the light of the kitchen bulb. "Every time I do this, it takes something from me," she said. "Look at me, Obinna. I'm 28 years old, but I look like I'm 40. I'm giving my life so you can be a big man. I'm tired, Obinna. I'm so tired." She took the heavy spoon out of the pot and held it towards me. "If you want me to stop, I will stop," she said. "We can pour this soup away right now, but you must know what will happen. If I stop cooking, the luck will reverse. You will lose that position. The bank will sack you. We will lose this big house. We will go back to living in one room in the village. You will become an ordinary man again. Is that what you want?" She looked at me, waiting for my answer. The smell of the soup was filling the kitchen again. It smelled like money. It smelled like power. I looked at my wife, who was dying slowly for me, and then I looked at the pot that held my future. I opened my mouth to tell her to throw it away, but the words did not come out. The fear of being poor was fighting with the fear of God in my heart. The kitchen was silent. Only the sound of the pot boiling was heard, bubbling like the devil's laughter. The big wooden spoon fell from my shaking hand and hit the tiled floor with a loud noise, gabam! I backed away from the pot like it was a dangerous snake. I could not look inside it again. I told Chidera to cover it immediately. I told her I don't want to see it. I told her we'll throw it away in the morning when the sun comes out.
I was lying to myself, and I think she knew it. I just did not have the strength to pour my promotion and my riches inside the sink that night. The smell was confusing my brain. One part of me wanted to run away and pray, but the other part of me remembered how my bank account balance looked very fat. The guilt was wrestling with my conscience. Jadira did not argue with me. She covered the pot and turned off the gas cylinder. We walked upstairs in silence. The house felt heavy, and the shadows on the wall looked like they were moving. When we lay down on the bed, she turned her back to me. Her body was cold like a lizard. I looked at the ceiling, and my mind was running a race. I thought about my friend Emeka. He was a good man. He had 3 children in primary school. Was I eating his children's school fees? Was I eating his happiness so that I can buy new shoes? The guilt was biting me like red ants. But then I thought about my new car. I thought about how people hail me at the village meeting. Chief Obinna, the big man. If I stop this thing now, they will laugh at me. They will say I have fallen. They will say I am a failure. Sleep finally took me, but it was not a sweet sleep. I had bad dreams. I dreamt that I was eating meat, and the meat started crying with a human voice. I woke up sweating and panting. The sun was already shining bright through the window. It was morning. The fear of the night had reduced small because daylight always makes things look better. The sun gave me some courage. I told myself that, Obinna, you are a child of God. You cannot do this evil. I made up my mind on the bed. I said I will go downstairs and pour that soup inside the gutter behind the house. I will tell Chidera to burn the pot. We will start afresh. I will work hard with my own hands, even if it takes 10 years. I washed my face and put on my clothes. I felt light. I felt like I was doing the right thing. I walked down the stairs with energy. I was ready to destroy the evil pot. But as I reached the bottom of the stairs, I heard a car horn honking outside my gate. Peem, peem, peem. It was a loud and arrogant horn. It sounded like a car that cost millions of naira. I looked through the window and saw a black Land Cruiser Jeep. It was my boss, Mr. Johnson. My heart skipped a beat. Why, I was the managing director in my house by 7 o'clock in the morning. I ran to the door and opened it. Mr. Johnson was standing there looking fresh in his big suit, but his eyes were hungry. He did not even say good morning properly. "Obinna, my boy," he shouted with a loud laugh. "I hope I did not wake you up. I could not sleep last night, Obinna. That soup your wife cooked, it has been calling my name. I have a very serious board meeting this morning. We are voting for the new regional director today. I need power. I need energy. I told my driver to turn the car. I said I must eat that soup before I go to the office." I stood there with my mouth open. I did not know what to say. He wanted to eat the soup. He wanted to eat the bad luck. Or maybe he wanted to eat the luck that Chidera stole from Emeka. If I tell him no, he will be angry. If I tell him the soup is finished, he will know I am lying, because the smell was still strong in the house. Just then I heard footsteps behind me. I turned around and saw Chidera. She was coming out of the kitchen. She was holding a tray. On the tray was a big ceramic bowl with steam rising from it. The soup was inside. The meat was inside. She did not look at the boss. She looked straight at me. Her eyes were asking me a question. She was waiting for my order. Mr. Johnson saw the bowl and his eyes shined like torchlight. "Aha!" he shouted. "The magic soup! Obinna, you are a lifesaver!" He made a move to enter the house. He was walking towards the dining table. He was walking towards his doom or his glory. I stood in the middle. I looked at the innocent man who just wanted breakfast. I looked at my wife who was holding the bowl of abomination. I looked at the luxury car parked outside. This was the moment. If he eats this, I become his favorite. If I stop him, I become his enemy. My mouth felt heavy. The devil was whispering in my ear. The smell of the soup filled the room, and for a second I forgot about Emeka. I only saw the director position shining in front of me. The silence in the room lasted for only 2 seconds, but it felt like 2 years. Mr. Johnson was looking at me with a hungry smile. Chidera was looking at me with a face that had no expression at all. She was holding the steaming bowl like a weapon. My heart was beating gibba-gibba-gibba against my ribs. I looked at the black Jeep outside the window again. I looked at the dusty shoes I was wearing. I remembered the poverty of my father and the poverty of my grandfather. I did not want that life. I took a deep breath and swallowed the lump in my throat. I stepped aside and opened the way. "Welcome, sir," I said with a voice that did not sound like my own. "Please sit down on the dining table. My wife prepared it fresh just for you." Mr. Johnson clapped his hands happily. "That is what I like to hear," he shouted. He rushed to the table and sat down heavily. Chidera walked past me. She did not blink. She placed the tray in front of him. The smell of the soup rose up and covered the whole parlor. It was a thick, spicy aroma. I stood by the curtain and watched. I could not leave. I had to watch the sin I was committing. Mr. Johnson picked up the spoon and dipped it into the red oil. He scooped a big piece of meat. I knew that meat. I saw when it fell from the smoke last night. That was not goat meat. That was the luck of my friend Emeka. That was the promotion that was supposed to go to another man. Mr. Johnson put the meat in his mouth and chewed. He closed his eyes and moaned with pleasure. "This is it, Obinna," he said with his mouth full. "This is the secret. This taste is power." He ate everything. He licked the soup. He crunched the bones. I watched him swallowing the destiny of innocent people. As he ate, I felt something change in the room. The air around him became brighter. He looked stronger. His skin started glowing. It was like the soup was injecting him with pure favor. When he finished, he drank a glass of water and wiped his mouth with a white handkerchief. He stood up and patted his stomach. "Obinna," he said, looking at me with serious eyes, "you are a good man. You know how to take care of your boss." As I was eating this food, my mind became clear. I know who I want as the new regional director. It is you. Forget the interview. The job is yours. Come to the office by 10 o'clock to sign the papers. He shook my hand. His hand was warm and strong. My hand was cold and shaken. "Thank you, sir," I said. "Thank you very much." He walked out to his big car and drove off. I stood at the door and waved. I was now a regional director. I was a big man. I had won. But as I turned back into the house, I felt a heavy weight land on my shoulders. I walked into the kitchen. Chidera was washing the empty bowl at the sink. The tap was running. Shh. She did not turn to look at me. I stood behind her. I wanted to touch her shoulder. I wanted to say sorry. I wanted to say thank you, but I could not touch her. She felt like a stranger now. She was no longer just my wife. She was the priestess of my ambition, and I was no longer an innocent husband. I was a customer. She turned off the tap and dried her hands. She turned around slowly to face me. Her face was old. The wrinkles were deep. The gray hair on her head had increased just in the last 1 hour. She looked at me with pity. "You have what you want now, Obinna," she said quietly. "The job is yours. But remember what my grandmother said. A man's glory must be fed. You are a director now. The hunger of the pot will grow. Next time it will not be just a colleague's luck that we need. Big positions require big sacrifices. She walked past me and went upstairs to sleep. I was left alone in the kitchen. I looked at the big iron pot sitting on the stove. It was cold and empty now, but I knew that tonight at 2 a.m. it would boil again. I was rich, I was powerful, but as I looked at my reflection in the dark window, I knew the truth. I was never going to sleep peacefully again. I was hungry for success, and now I must eat.